Happy holidays, everyone. This is Wendy Castle with One Bite Nutrition. I'm here with Nikki, one of our dietitians, and we're just going to go over some holiday tips that might help you get through this holiday season. So, Nikki, what are some of the tips and the goals that you work with your patients during this time?
Yeah, our main goal is just trying to not necessarily have more progress during that holiday season, but at least maintain the progress that we've already made throughout that year. Or even if you've only been working with us for a few months, still just maintaining what we've already done. And so a lot of our patients come to us for weight loss struggles or struggles with weight in general. And it's pretty common for people to gain weight during the holidays, up to 5 pounds, in fact. And so that weight is usually the hardest to lose as well. When we look at, what we're eating around Christmas, it's usually not just even one day, but multiple Christmas events. On Christmas Day, that average intake is over 5,000 calories. And so over double what an average person needs throughout the day. And
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
yeah, the keyword is how do we stop this? How do we make sure that this doesn't happen to us? And it really comes down to a few different things. First we can start in the kitchen. If you're in charge of making food, whether it's all of it or just a few dishes or even one dish, what can we do to help make at least that one dish a little bit better for us? So first we can start by reducing those calories. So one of my favorite things to do is take, family recipe, like a good tried and true family recipe. How can I make it even a little bit healthier? Can I decrease the amount of butter, the amount of sugar or oil, and still get that same result of the dish that we enjoyed? And I found that oftentimes, not necessarily in baked goods, but in things like side dishes, we can do that and achieve the same result or even a little bit of a better result too. So reducing that, but also adding in nutrition. So if we add, more fruits or more veggies to that dish that we're making, that can help give us a little bit extra nutrition boost there too.
Yeah, absolutely. What about when people are sitting down to the table or they're going through the line and they're trying to make their plate? Do you have any tips when it comes to maybe portion control at mealtime?
Of course. So first, right, that filling your plate. So we want to be mindful about what we're adding on there. And I always tell my patients that I want you to have what you want, because there's always those dishes that this is what makes Christmas for me. This is what makes this holiday. I want you to have that, but I also want you to have what you need as well. So what you want and what you need come together on your plate there. So once we have our plate filled, not eating too fast, of course, we can take our time, which we're usually having conversations during that, right, sitting at the table. So that does help us slow down a little bit. What I don't want us to do is have this plate of food in front of us that we're so excited about and eat it super fast so then we can go and get more. Give your body some time for your stomach to tell your brain, okay, this was delicious, but I'm full now, so I don't really need any more. And on that note, too, taking a break before you do get a second plate. Sometimes we might feel like we do have a little bit of extra space in there, but after we wait, 5, 10, 15 minutes, we realize, okay, no, if I take another bite, I'm going to be too full. I'm going to be uncomfortably full, which is, of course, not what we want at this time as well. Um, Again, allowing yourself to have your favorite thing. So if it's this certain potato dish or rice dish or pasta, whatever it is, um, have it. Just don't go overboard with it. Another good tip is just to decrease the calories that we intake that day by drinks. And so this is something that not is necessarily going to fill up that space in our stomach and make us feel full for very long, but it can be a kind of sneaky way to add in those calories throughout the day. And of course, those appetizers, what am I eating before the meal? Especially if, you arrive, about one or two, but we're not eating till 4 or 5. We're just kind of lingering around. So there's always those little snack trays around. Make sure we take that into account when filling our plate and when taking into consideration what I'm going to put on that plate, but also what I need to eat in that free time before. So if there's, a fruit tray or a veggie tray, this is a good time to go ahead and get that in. So maybe there's not your favorite veggies with dinner. We don't have to worry about needing them at that time too.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Now, everyone or most people's favorite dessert. How do you tackle dessert when there's maybe an array of different, delicious desserts out there as an option during the holidays?
Yes. And so, like you said, everyone's favorite is usually dessert. And so, if we is our favorite thing, have your portion and then move on. Or if there's multiple ones that you like say you need this cake and you need this brownie, let's have half of them, half of each, be good with there. Or if you're dead set on having both, have one, save the next for the next day. It's going to be okay if we can spread those calories out throughout multiple days. It's going to be a little bit easier on our system there to handle. Now, if desserts maybe aren't your favorite thing, right? You're more into those savory sides, then it's okay to skip on dessert, which I know some people would never even think to do. It would be out of land to do so. But if there's not your thing, it's okay to skip on it. You don't have to have it.
Yeah, absolutely. Man, skipping dessert, I don't know if I could do that, but I could definitely portion it and save some for later. Um, so in regards to maybe going to somebody else's house, where you might have a little less control over the ingredients and what's being offered. I know I have a lot of patients with anxiety about I'm going to this social event. I'm not super comfortable with everyone I'm around. I'm not bringing my own food. What do I do there?
Yeah, so kind of like we talked about in the beginning, make sure you have that plan. First thing, we're not going to go hungry, right? Especially if it's at, let's say, dinner time. We're not going to skip breakfast and lunch and then save everything for dinner. If we can, still have, a moderate breakfast, a moderate lunch, or even if it is at lunch, having that breakfast still, that's going to help us not overeat when that dinner time comes. That kind of anxiety around being in a place where you don't have all of that control can also make you over under eat a little bit there. So we want to make sure you're still getting enough food throughout the day to not feel like you have to like save it all for one time. Secondly, we want to be able to hydrate too. So don't forget to drink that water, the few days before, of course, every day, but especially the few days before and that day of. Make sure we're drinking that water because that's going to make us feel more hungry as well if we are dehydrated. It could also cause some GI upset if we don't have water, eat all this food that we're not used to eating on a daily basis. So we don't want that to kind of hinder our holiday plans either. And of course, go in, making sure, okay, I'm going to have a fruit, or a protein and a veggie on my plate. I can fill in my carbs around there, which is usually everybody's favorite side dishes when we come to a meal like this. And then, of course, just afterwards, try to be active, right? Let's try to not sit on the couch and just have chats. Let's go for a walk if the weather's nice enough, or if there's kids around, play with them a little bit too. But just something to keep that food kind of moving through our system versus just sitting there like a rock.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing I tell my patients is leave the kitchen when you're done eating. So don't just be tempted to kind of like surf around the buffet and just nibble and communicate and congregate around the food because you'll tend to eat more. So if
Mhm.
you go somewhere else, outside, play, socialize in an area that's not in the kitchen or around the food, you're distracted and you tend not to focus as much on the yummies that are surrounding you and tempting you. So as we look forward, everybody's looking into the new year after the holiday season. Any tips, any advice as we try to refocus and kind of, aim for new goals for the new year?
Yeah. So my best advice is to where we were before Christmas, right? You had that plan in place with your dietitian. Christmas happened. It happened. If you were unsatisfied with how that went, it happened. You can't undo it, right? We can't redo that day either. And so that next day is a new day, right? So just freaking, like you said, refocus on those goals that you already had set and work on those until you see your dietitian again. And also, there's a lot of stress around the holiday season. So that time tends to kind of go into New Year's and with resolutions and all of that sort of stuff. And so that stress level is really high. This isn't going to help us with our weight loss progress either. And so doing some stress relieving activities is going to be helpful before, during, and after the holidays as you have time. Things like walking, yoga, reading, maybe even some meditation or breathing exercises. Just things that you can do to keep your mind and your body happy.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are all great tips. And yeah, even though the holidays might be exciting and you get to see people you don't normally see on a regular basis, stress could be good stress too. It's still stressful. You have a lot to do, a lot of people to see, maybe multiple places you're going to in a very short period of time. So yeah, remembering those stress relieving techniques. Um, So I just want to wish everyone a really, really Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. New Year's coming. So if anybody needs any sort of support in regards to their diet, would like to talk to a dietitian, please reach out. Our website's www.onebitenutrition.com. You can book directly on there, and we'll get in touch with you. We're happy to help. Nikki, any last words?
I don't think so. I think we are ready to book into our new year coming ahead.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody.